Hi, I'm Professor Natasha Grotz, and I'm a member of the faculty in the biology department at Dartmouth College. And today I'd like to give you an introduction to the foundation courses that we offer in the department. Before I tell you details about these courses, I just want to give you an idea of the various courses that we offer at the foundation level. And so here you see a list of the courses that we offer. These are courses that are numbered Biology 12 through Biology 16, and they include the following topics: cell structure and function, gene expression and inheritance, physiology, genetic variation and evolution, and ecology. Later in this presentation, I'll give you an idea of what each of these courses covers, but before I do that, I want to give you some basic facts about these courses in general. So one of the things to know about these courses is that the foundation courses are not sequenced and they can be taken in any order. What that means is that you can take Biology 13 before you take Biology 12, you can take Biology 16 before you take Biology 15. Another thing to know is that if you decide to major in the department, you will be required to take 3 of the foundation level courses. If you think back to the topics that I just went over for those courses, one of the things that you'll realize is that having to take 3 of these 5 courses will guarantee some breadth in your biological training. Okay. The foundation courses all have a lab. So one thing to consider when you're making the decision to take a foundation level class is that these will have an increased number of contact hours. And you should be realistic about the term in which you decide to take these classes and whether that increased number of contact hours will work for you. Along the same lines as the foundation courses not being sequenced, it's important to note that as long as you've completed the course prerequisites for any of our courses in the major, you can move on to those courses. In other words, as long as you fulfilled the prerequisites at the intermediate or the advanced level, you can take those courses even if you haven't completed all of the foundation courses. So what can you expect when you move into the foundation courses? One of the things that you can expect when you move into the foundation courses is that you're going to see larger class sizes, and these larger class sizes are going to require regular class attendance and steady work. You should expect a large amount of information, and that large amount of information is going to require developed study skills. So in these courses, you're going to want to stay on top of the work as you're doing it and not get behind. There's also going to be an aspect of problem solving. Some of that problem solving will include the use of high school algebra to solve word problems about quantitative aspects of biology. As you know, they have labs. These weekly labs are designed to expose students to relevant techniques in that given subject areas. So now I'm going to tell you a little bit more about each of the individual courses. And you'll notice on each of these slides that I have photos of faculty that are involved in these courses in the upcoming year. So Biology 12 is going to cover the fundamental mechanisms that govern the structure and function of eukaryotic cells. Topics within Biology 12 are going to include signal transduction, the cell cycle, membrane transport, cell motility in the cytoskeleton, protein targeting, and energy conversion. Biology 13, or gene expression and inheritance, is where you're going to study genetics and molecular biology. Topics will include the flow of genetic information, the transmission of genetic information, molecular mechanisms governing the control of gene expression. In Biology 14, or physiology, this is where you're going to look at how different organ systems, and sometimes organ systems from different organisms, strive to maintain internal homeostasis in the face of different demands. So topics are going to include adaptive responses to environmental factors, biological control of systems, and coordinated body functions. In Biology 15, genetic variation and evolution, you'll study the fundamental processes and mechanisms of evolution on a population level that give rise to variation and diversity. Topics will include source and distribution of phenotypic and genotypic variation, forces acting on genetic variation, genetic bases of adaptation, speciation, and phyletic evolution. Biology 16, or ecology, is going to look at the fundamental concepts in rapidly developing areas of ecology. These will include things such as factors that limit the distributions and abundances of organisms, effects of organisms on ecosystems, integration of ecosystems around the globe, and conservation of species diversity. On this slide, you'll see a layout of the different course offerings for these foundation courses in the 2016-2017 academic year. One thing to note is that I'm specifically showing you the fall, winter, and spring because that's a typical enrollment pattern for a first-year student. So you'll see that in any given term, there are a number of different offerings available. You may be asking yourself, though, whether starting with any of these courses is the right decision. And if you're unsure about where to start your biology studies, I would recommend the video done by Professor Jack that's also available on our website. One thing to note is that if you are a student who's interested in attending the Biology FSP, it is recommended that you take Biology 16 as early in your career as possible. There's also a video on that available on the website as well. I hope that you found this useful and that I'll see you in the classroom.